You know how I am with theories and hair loss and psychology. I just couldn't wait till tomorrow to make this video at work. I just want to like get this out there, so maybe if it's not true at all, that we can just rule it out. Okay, so you're gonna kind of help me sort out this theory here as that very loud bird, which someone will identify and put in the comments, whatever that bird is here in Tennessee, they can tell us. So here's what I want to figure out. I'm noticing, obviously, that there's a certain demographic of people who comment and watch my videos that indeed suffer from depression and or anxiety. We know that. And we've also established that it's not that the hair loss causes the depression or anxiety, but it definitely heightens it. It makes it worse. It feeds it. Okay? I understand, and we all understand, that the root issue is the depression itself. Okay, that's the root issue, and then on top of that's hair loss makes it worse. What I don't hear anyone admitting or saying is that I'm depressed because of my hair loss. I suffer depression. I'm on these medications to help my depression because I had hair loss. I wasn't depressed until I had hair loss. No one's saying that. Everyone's admitting the depression was pre-existing. And now that I'm starting to lose my hair at a young age, it's definitely gotten that much worse. Okay, so we all agree that's what's going on. With the demographics of people, out of the 1,600 subscribers, there's a certain amount, whether we said it's 5%, 10%, whatever, that definitely indeed suffer from depression. Okay, so now that we've talked about that though, I know people who are depressed, like in my personal life. And it's like the people who are depressed, something they all seem to have in common that I sense from them is that there's some kind of repressed issue. Repression. There's like a pond, so those are frogs. Now you're hearing frogs. It's like a nature walk here in Tennessee. So I call it a theory, but isn't this common sense? That repression leads to depression. Repression leads to depression. R to D. Repression leads to depression. What I feel, like even just now, I was at Walmart a little while ago, and we're looking for like hooks for towel racks at our bathroom. And there's this girl, she has a piercing that goes in this part and comes out the other. And there's like studs on both sides. And she's got like dyed blue hair or whatever. And she's wearing this t-shirt with like the satanic anagram, whatever it's called, that circle thing, and like with a cat on it. So it's like ironically satanic. But like, I smiled at her because I believe in being nice to everyone, try to make everyone's day better. So I smiled at her and she just looks back at me like this and just keeps walking. So okay, she's obviously got some things sorting out in her life. But you know, here's what I believe. I believe people who walk around that way, there's a reason that they're that way. It's not like they had a healthy upbringing where they had, you know, positive role models as parents who loved them and were very clear about that and nurtured them, but yet still gave them a healthy level of independence like my parents did. It's obvious to me that girl didn't have that. And it's not me judging her. In fact, I wanted to make her smile back and it didn't work. But when I see people that are, you know, just piercings all over their face, tattoos all over their body, they're sending a message to the world, aren't they? They're not saying I'm at peace, I'm grateful for life. There's things that are being repressed, you know? And so when I see those people, I feel bad because I'm like, man, I'm sorry that in their life, they've had such a hard times in their life to lead to that, you know? I just have to think that people that have all that stuff going on, something happened to them in their life. There's a book called Wild at Heart. When I first got married, I read this book, and it's to understand, you know, how men are different than women psychologically. Now a cat's following me. Black cat. He wants to be my friend. I like cats. You want to be my friend? Remember, I used to be allergic to cats. Hey there. I used to be allergic to cats. Like, I'd be like itching the rest of the day and stuff if I ever touched a cat, and sneezing and have headaches. But look what I just did. I'm petting the cat and I'll be fine. But that's only before I became a vegan that I would have all these issues, sneezing, headaches. And now I can do that and be fine, because now that I'm not consuming dairy or eggs, I don't have those issues anymore. So that's one of the reasons I'm a vegan. I'm no longer allergic to animals. So that's just, that to me, it's just an obvious thing. It's like a stereotype. When I see someone who has so much aggression to the world, I see someone who was wounded. And what I was talking about, there was this book I read called Wild at Heart, and it talks about how every man at some point had some kind of wound in his childhood, in his developmental stage, usually caused by another man, maybe his father or stepfather, something like that, that just really emotionally affected him, and for better or worse, defined who he was. And his ability to get over that wound ultimately determines the rest of his life. Like, will he become victorious? Will he find a way to overcome issues in his life? Birds just flew away. Or will he be victimized by that and never think that he can get past that? And here's what I think. Here's my hair loss theory that I want to sort out with you. I think a lot of people who watch my videos that are suffering from hair loss are already depressed from something that happened in their childhood to begin with. And they never got it sorted out. They never sorted through that. And because of that, it's that much more difficult for those people to overcome their hair loss. Because we all know there's certain people who watch my channel and they've said, you know what, Nick, I started losing my hair. I was 20. I shaved it off. Life's never been better. And they got over it, which again, I'm not ever here to say just get over it. It's not that simple. But what I am here to say is, if you are ever going to, because I was saying the other day, if only you had a brain transplant and you had my brain, then your hair wouldn't bother you anyway, even if you lose it, because you have what it takes internally to overcome that. But I think that there's definitely, my theory, I definitely think that what is that wound in your life? What happened to you to cause you to not be able to overcome this? I talked about the connection between people who are offended by things and how easily offended. Like someone was saying, Ed Sheeran recently shut down Twitter or something, his account, because I guess people were trolling him or insulting him. And a guy like me, I'm like, I don't care. People say that stuff to me all day long on my channel and tell me that I'm ugly and that I need to shave my head and need to get Propecia. And like, do you think that ever affects me emotionally at all? Of course not. It reflects that other person, right? But I think definitely there's a connection here. I think that a lot of people watching my channel have some kind of wound from earlier on in their life. And it could be as extreme and dark as being, molested as a child, or it could be something as simple as they weren't good at sports and they didn't really fit in and they never really found their place, Because that was kind of me. I mean, I was horrible at sports, and, I had to find other ways to overcome that. And what's funny is when you get out of high school, sports don't mean anything when you get out of high school. And so I developed my communication skills and things like that. But I just wonder, for the people watching this channel who are not able to overcome the fact that they're losing their hair and they just can't get past it, I wonder if those are people who also psychologically never got past that wound in their life, whatever it was. And I'm one of the people who, I've overcome the obstacles in my life, and that causes me to think, okay, you can't offend me, you can't insult me, I can lose my hair and I'm still the same guy. I think, just like with depression, there's some kind of root issue that's being repressed. I think it's the same thing with hair loss. I think there's similarities between depression. I think, what is the repressed issue? What are you hiding? Because think about this. Sadly, think about maybe a guy who, let's say, some kind of dark and tragic thing happened, whether one of his parents died when he was younger, whether he was molested, something like that. And he just hides it and represses it his whole life, and he's just angry, And then but he doesn't talk it out, he doesn't sort it out, he doesn't get help, and then he just becomes depressed. I think hair loss can definitely be the same way. I know that's such an extreme, I'm not here to downplay that at all, but I think on this spectrum, it's this simple. If you don't get those issues sorted out and learn to overcome them, you end up still remaining a victim your whole life. And it's only going to get worse. It's going to be not just hair loss, it's going to be other things. So, my theory is that repression of these issues leads to depression, which leads to you thinking you can never get over this. It's something like a hair loss for greater or worse. So, help me sort this out. This is all a mess, but I want to understand it better. Help me learn it.